I just got back from watching Immaculate in theaters, and I need to share my thoughts on what I've just seen. Now, as I go into this, I want to be clear that there is a trigger warning for SA, religious cultism, and forced pregnancies and birthing. Also, I may be a little bit herbalized throughout the rest of this video. Don't hold it against me, and I won't hold it against you. First off, when we come to Immaculate, I want to discuss Sydney Sweeney's performance. She's always got this sense about her that is trying to hold on to something positive in a world of negativity. Her character has been in an accident on ice before, where she fell through a lake and then believed that God saved her life as the EMTs pulled her out of the water. This is explained to another character in this movie. You're going to meet him very early on, and he is going to seem like a very hopeful, positive person. Unfortunately, he is not. Oh, look, here comes Cinnamon Hat. Who is it? Who is it, Cinnamon Hat? That's the butt nugget? So, as Cinnamon Hat so graciously pointed out, this guy right here is the guy who gives off the vibe. You know, it's the ick. And of course, you've guessed it by now, our main character is with child, with no idea how. And she's being presented at this point in front of the mass congregation to be prayed for, sung for, to be blessed. And as they lift the veil over her head, this is the face you get, the shot you get. She's being cared for. She has everything she needs as long as she plays along with the belief, with the insanity that's going on. I would just like to point out that in this picture right here, you can see the disdain, the trauma, the sorrow in her eyes, which is fitting because, again, the parish that they're set in is Our Lady of Sorrows. So, right off the bat, you're seeing the correlation between this is forced. It doesn't matter that everything that she has is given to her. What matters is that she did not consent to this pregnancy, and it's fucking scary. Now, another scene that I want to point out here is this one. Now, later in this scene, spoiler alert, another young nun that has been kind of a guide for her throughout this whole process comes in and starts to strangle her while saying, "It should have been me, you bitch." Another thing I want to add to that is that when she does end up bringing it up with the parish fathers, they kind of try to pass it off as if Isabella, the young woman who is jealous and trying to strangle and drown this young woman, that she has some kind of underlying mental health problems that she's losing a battle with. And to me, that sounds even more so like how it feels to be forced pregnancy. Like, you're supposed to love this child. You're supposed to want this child. But it's really not your child. You can feel it. It's almost like a parasite inside you. You don't want to be connected to that being. And at every turn, everything just seems more and more set up. And that is exactly what it feels like when you are a mother who didn't expect to be pregnant, who has no other choice. It feels like, especially because it's ingrained into you in the South, that you have to be a mother once you get pregnant. If not, you're absolute garbage. And so we move forward from this point, and everything is still being provided for her, and she's getting this weird vibe. It's the ick that we know now is coming from Sarduskanu, but she's just now getting this, I don't understand this, and I need to know more ick. So here I want to talk about the visual transition from what you just saw, with the sorrowful yet still immaculate looking female, that transitions into this dirty feeling. And you can see this represented here in this scene, and the way that she's dressed and feeling at the time. Her habits no longer neat, her hair is falled back. They have visual scenes of her feeling like she's rotting, and she's begging to be taken to the hospital, and it's being refused to her. And so she shows a little bit of dissonance. She shows a little bit of retaliation. And she tries to find a way to get out after her friend decides to speak up for her and then is taken away. We'll leave that at that. When we're talking about this visual transition, though, I want to also talk about the visual transition that we see in mothers who are not only in forced pregnancies, but in pregnancies that they may want. And they have this visual transition of being glowing to being tired and run down, as if they've been asked to do so much that they just can't stand it anymore. And that's because their body is literally being taken over by this little being inside of them. And there's no controlling that. After it goes rampant, it goes rampant. It's kind of pregnancy, baby. That's what happens. And she's not in a position to where I don't think she wants an abortion. I don't even think she's thinking about the abortion. I think she's just thinking about needing the choice. And that parallel is drawn pretty clearly when you see this visual transition. She just wanted a choice. She didn't want to be pregnant outside of her own terms. So just for further representation of this visual transition, we have her going from this to this in the span of literally months. And that is a quick transition for somebody. If you were to put that kind of weight loss on a person who was obese, say, that would be dangerous. And you see the demand not only being put on her here for her body to be changing so rapidly, but as soon as she decides to show a little bit of rebellion, the actions that they make her take are far more strenuous. It's almost like they've taken away the reward for believing in their fallacy. And because of this, you can see the outline that it's never been about protecting the child, because if it was about protecting the child, you would not want them to stress their body any further. But in one scene, she's made to feel ashamed for something she did in order to try and get to a hospital in order to protect the child that is inside her. And this, I just want to say that this parallel has really an eye-opening experience. This is one of those scenes that causes that well-up of emotion within you, and it's almost traumatic. Now, I'm leaving these other two pictures up while also adding this third picture in order to show you how that transition comes full circle, where she has fought her way to be free. She's tried to get to the hospital to save this child, and possibly her own life, because you never know what's going on inside her. And they refuse to show her any of the medical examinations. And so she's fought her way out of this situation. She's seen torture happening firsthand. And she's experienced now torture happening firsthand. And so she fought her way through all of this just to get out, be free, and have this baby last minute. And without trying to traumatize you, as a spoiler alert, you can tell that the baby, if you're experienced in childbirth, you can tell that the baby is not going to survive. And so she takes this breath back before finally making the decision to end this child's life. And in all seriousness, the way that she has to go about this abortion, because that's what it is, and this would be late abortion because the baby is, of course, born. The way that she has to go about this abortion is very traumatic and could be considered in some courts of law murder. And if you were to take this to court, just like people are being charged with today, and rule this as murder, this woman is already making a very hard decision after being put into a situation she did not choose, which is a direct correlation to the forced birth and the abortion ban. And the fact that people will sit here and react virally, will react with a violent discontentment within their soul, like something is obviously disturbed when they watch this movie, But then they could sit there and listen to the Supreme Court rule that the abortion ban would be in effect and that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. Because we all knew that's where it was headed. The fact that you had completely disproportionate reactions to both of these when this is one instance of what the abortion bans are causing is so not right. It is the ick. The director overall in this movie did a great job putting together a feeling that is close to how it feels to be carrying somebody's child and not want to be. The feeling of forced pregnancy and forced birth, and then the ending decision that ultimately still does damage to both the mother and the family surrounding. And with that, I give this a 10 out of 10 cinema nats. Let's see our little buddy come back. Hey, there he is. It's a 10 out of 10 cinema nats for Immaculate. And if you get a chance to go see this movie, I highly encourage it. But also be aware and be advised you may need a trusted friend or adult nearby. And this movie may require aftercare.